Hello, this is Chapter 10, Building an Organization Capable of Good Strategy Execution. Our learning objectives: understand what managers must do to execute strategy successfully. Explain why hiring, training, and retaining the right people constitute a key component of the strategy execution process. And recognize that good strategy execution requires continuously building and upgrading the organization's resources and organization's capabilities. Understand the importance of establishing a strategy, supportive organizational structure, and organize the work effort. And lastly, comprehend the pros and cons of centralized and decentralized decision making in implementing the chosen strategy. Executing strategy. So, in order to execute a strategy, you've got to take a look at several different areas. Is it operations driven, involving the management of both people and business processes? Is it a job for the whole management team? Yes, it is, not just a few senior managers. And also, it can take many more years to achieve real proficiency as compared to implementing strategy. Requires a determined commitment to change, action, and performance. Committing to executing a strategy. It entails figuring out the specific techniques, actions, and behaviors necessary for a smooth, strategy supportive operation, and following through to get things done and deliver for results. Making things happen, which is leadership, and making them happen right, that's management. So leadership and management are extremely important in this process. Figure 10.1 shows the 10 basic tasks of the strategy execution process, and they are: develop the resources and capabilities required for successful strategy execution, establish a strategy supportive organizational structure, allocate sufficient resources to the strategy execution effort, institute policies and procedures that facilitate strategy execution, and adopt business management processes that drive continuous improvement. Install information and operating systems that support strategy execution activities, and tie rewards directly to the achievement of these performance objectives. Foster a corporate culture that promotes good strategy execution, and exercise the leadership needed to propel strategy execution forward. And lastly, staff the organization with the right people for executing the strategy, the action agenda for executing the strategy. Building an organization capable of good strategy execution, 3 key actions. People make fun of me because I said this 3 instead of this 3 or this 3. Staffing the organization, putting together a strong management team and recruiting and retaining employees with the needed experience, technical skills, and intellectual capital, human resources. Acquiring, developing, and strengthening other resources and capabilities required for good strategy execution, and also structuring the organization and work effort. Here's 3 key actions here. We'll just put them in graphic form. I just read them to you. Don't have to repeat them. Putting together a strong management team. Planners who ask tough questions and figure out what needs to be done. Implementers who can select, manage, and lead the right people. And executors who turn decisions into actions that drive the changes that produce sustainable competitive advantage. And the key takeaway in all of this: a critical mass of talented activist managers. Management development, Deloitte Touche. Learning and development programs that contribute to Deloitte's successful execution of its talent strategy. Clear path to partnership for all of its employees. Formal training programs on how to get there. Special programs for high performance. And sponsorship, not mentorship. This is how this company decided how to execute their strategy. So, how do you recruit, train, and retain capable employees? Well, you have to intensively screen and evaluate applicants to ensure selecting those who are best suited and best fitted. Provide training programs throughout employee careers. and offer challenging, interesting, and skill-stretching assignments. Rotate people through jobs that span functional or geographic boundaries. Make the work environment stimulating and engaging so that the firm is considered a great place to work. Also, encourage employees to propose creative ways of operating better and to push ideas for new products or businesses. Use assorted financial incentives and perks to retain employees. And coach average performers to improve their skills and capabilities while weeding out underperformers. You know, there was a really good executive. His name was Jack Welch, and he used to run General Electric years ago and advanced General Electric as a major corporation, achieving incredible success. And Jack Welch had a employee retention program that I really liked. He called it the ABC program. And they would critically evaluate every single employee who worked for the organization. And um, if you were a C player, they would weed you out. If you were a B player, they would do everything they can to make you become an A player. And then the A players were the A players, and they were, the key performing, rising stars of the organization. And those are the people that got the plum assignments, the promotions, and the financial rewards. But the B players was the focus because those are the ones that they wanted to train and improve. And again, like I said, if you were a C player, they weeded you out. So develop and building critical resources and organizational capabilities. And these are the approaches: develop organizational capabilities internally, acquiring capabilities through mergers and acquisitions, and assessing capabilities through collaborative partnerships. Those are some of the key approaches to building and strengthening capabilities. So let's take a look closely at the first one. When you look at developing capabilities internally, managerial actions to develop competencies and capabilities, strengthen the firm's base of skills, knowledge, and intellect, coordinate and integrate the efforts of work groups and departments. There's something called knowledge management, and as it pertains to corporations, this is the collective intelligence of the organization, if you will. So there's a history of how you do things in a company and whatever, and it's important that that is written down so that new people who come can recognize and understand, what it is that you have to do and where you have to work through to get things done. Um, when an employee who leaves an organization after has been there a really long time, if the company has not picked the brain of that departing employee and documented a lot of the policies, processes, and et cetera, and things that how to get things done, the company will end up losing um, intellectual capacity, knowledge. And that's why it's important that if someone is leaving, that you capture that knowledge. And then you have an ongoing process of capturing and collecting and quantifying and qualifying intellectual capital. It's really important because it's money that the company has spent in terms of know-how on how to do things and processes and whatever. And it resides internally with employees. And if they leave, that knowledge management is gone. So it's imperative that a company develop its own internal knowledge management program to capture that information so it's never lost. So developing capabilities internally, managerial actions to develop competencies and capabilities, strengthen the firm's base of skills, knowledge, and intellect, coordinate and integrate the efforts of work groups and departments, and record this information. Setting stretch goals from capability to competence. Think strategically about a firm's knowledge and skill base. Setting a stretch goal of developing an organizational ability to do something well. Evolving the ability into a competitive competence or capability by performing it well and at an acceptable cost. Thinking strategically about a firm's opportunities and challenges. And then finally, refreshing, updating, and upgrading competencies and capabilities as necessary to gain and maintain competitive advantage. Acquiring capabilities through mergers and acquisitions. Here's a question. Market opportunity. When a market opportunity can slip by faster than a needed capability can be created internally. A question of competitive necessity. When industry conditions, technology, or competitors are moving at such a rapid clip that time is of the essence. A question of a successful integration. Tacit knowledge and complex routines may not transfer readily from one organizational unit to another. It's food for thought. Accessing capabilities through collaborative partnerships. Approach to acquiring capabilities from an external source. Outsource the function requiring the capabilities to a key supplier or another provider. Collaborate with a firm that has complementary resources and capabilities. Engage in a collaborative partnership for the purpose of learning how the partner does things. And what's the strategic role of employee training? Training is important to that. Executing a strategy that requires different skill sets, competitive capabilities, and operating methods. Organizational efforts to build skill-based competencies. And then also supplying technical know-how to employees when rapidly changing technology puts a firm in danger of losing its ability to compete. It's imperative that a company have good technology internally, good technology to process inventory, process sales, onboard employees. The technology delivery systems, are they good? Are they bad? Are they old? Being able to do things in the mainframe, in the system. It is important that you have good technology and that you're able to complete basic office functions without pain. And I know that in our organization here, it's somewhat painful sometimes. Strategy, execution, capabilities, and competitive advantage. What is superior strategy execution capabilities? Well, they are difficult to imitate and are socially complex processes that take a long time to develop. Maximize organizational resources and competitive capabilities in support of the business model. Lower costs and permit firms to deliver more value to their customers. Also, enable a firm to react more quickly to market changes, beat competitors to market with new products and services, and gain uncontested market dominance. Zara's strategy execution capabilities. Their strategy is focused on rapid value chain execution, quick and flexible design to production processes, close proximity to manufacturing factories, low percentage of commitment to fashion lines than competitors to keep in-store items fresh. What that means is the following. If there's a trend, Zara's ability to capture that trend and convert it into a product and to manufacture and develop that product and then distribute it to its stores means it brings high fashion, low cost product to their stores quicker than their rivals, and they're able to provide that to their customers. That's why Zara is very, very successful. And the small lot size orders reduce retail discounting and encourage impulse buying and frequent shopping because they have the products that you want. They're not overstocked in inventory, so they don't have to keep slashing the prices to get rid of the inventory. They have products that people want and people are willing to pay full price. Placements of goods in proximity to high fashion stores as a substitute for advertising. They're low cost alternative, but they do have high fashion concept. Matching organizational structure to the strategy. How do you ensure that structure follows strategy? Well, you decide which value chain activities to perform internally and which to outsource. And how do you determine that? Well, you should have an honest appraisal of what the company does well and what the company doesn't do well. Those areas that are painful, those areas that the company has problems in delivering successfully, those are those areas that need to be looked at to be outsourced. And many companies do that. Many companies outsource their payroll because they don't have HR experts internally. Many companies outsource their inventory. It's easier to have UPS or FedEx or Amazon not only warehouse, but also ship their product to their customers. So by doing that, by not focusing on areas that they don't have strengths, they can focus on areas where they do have strengths and then outsource so they don't have to worry about performance levels for those processes and processes that other people do for them. Also aligning the firm's organizational structure with its strategy. Also determining how much authority to delegate. How about providing for cross-unit coordination and facilitating collaboration with external partners and strategic allies? And this is just a graphical representation of what I just said. Deciding which value chain activities to perform internally and which to outsource. We just referred to them. Now here's the way that you figure it out. Outsourcing certain value chain activities can have execution-related benefits. Helps in outperforming rivals in strategy-critical activities and in turning a competence into a distinctive competence. It decreases bureaucracies, flattens structure, speeds decision-making, and shortens response time to changing market conditions. Imagine having a warehouse and distribution center where you continually have issues and problems with theft, with efficiency, with delivery, with accurate inventories, etc. If all of a sudden you didn't have those problems anymore and it was outsourced, it would make life a lot easier, and then you can focus on those things that you do well. Add to a firm's capabilities and contributes to better strategy execution through partnerships with suppliers and channel partners. Illustration capsule 10.4. Which value chain activities does Apple outsource and why? How important is outsourcing to Apple's marketplace success? Is outsourcing to low-wage overseas manufacturers to avoid paying higher wages in markets where it sells the majority of its products a failure of corporate social responsibility for Apple? Good question. What do you think the answer is? Let's talk about it. Aligning the firm's organizational structure with its strategy. Organizational structure comprises the formal and informal arrangements of tasks, responsibilities, lines of authority, and reporting relationships with the firm. The structure is aligned with strategy when its design contributes to the creation of value for customers. Its parts are aligned with one another and also match to the requirements of the strategy. Also, it lowers operating costs through lower bureaucratic costs and operational efficiencies. Make sense? I think so. Matching type of organizational structure to strategy execution requirements. So we have a simple structure with just line and staff, functional structure, department or unitary, multi-divisional structure, divisional or M form, and matrix structure, composite or combination. And the strategy execution requirements are chosen strategy, capabilities and competencies, centralized or decentralized control. So how much authority should you delegate? Well, in centralized decision-making, authority is retained by the top management. Decentralized decision-making, authority is delegated to lower-level managers and employees. Which one is better? Answer, and this answer is always correct. It depends. And then I'll say, well, depends on what? Well, it depends on the type of business it is and the type of strategy you have employed and what industry. Basic tenets of centralized versus decentralized. In a centralized organizational structure, decisions on most matters of importance should be in the hands of top-level managers. In decentralized, decision-making authority should be put in the hands of the people closest to and most familiar with the situation. In centralized, lower-level personnel have neither the knowledge, time, or inclination to properly manage the tasks they are performing. In decentralized, those with decision-making authority should be trained to exercise good judgment. Centralized, strong control from the top is a more effective means for coordinating company actions. In decentralized, a company that draws on the combined intellectual capital of all its employees can outperform a command and control company. Chief advantages: centralized, fixes accountability through tight control from the top, eliminates potential for conflicting goals and actions on the part of lower level managers, and facilitates quick decision making and strong leadership in crisis situations. The decentralized chief advantages encourages company employees to exercise initiative and act responsibly, promotes greater motivation and involvement in the business on the part of more company personnel, spurs new ideas and creative thinking, and allows for fast response to market change. It also entails fewer layers of management. Disadvantages: in centralized, lengthens response time by those closest to the market conditions because they must seek approval. Primary disadvantage in decentral may result in higher level managers being unaware of actions taken by empowered personnel under their supervision. Centralized, again, does not encourage responsibility among lower level managers and rank and file employees, and discourage lower level managers and rank and file employees from exercising any initiative. And the decentralized primary disadvantage can lead to inconsistent or conflicting approaches by different managers and employees, and can impair cross-unit collaboration. Capturing a cross-business strategic fit in a decentralized structure. How do you do that? Enforcing close cross-business collaboration to avoid duplication of effort, and centralizing related functions requiring close coordination at the corporate level. Facilitating collaboration with external partners and strategic allies. You have strategic alliances, outsourcing arrangements, joint ventures, and cooperative partnerships. And creating a network or an ecosystem using relationship managers to build and maintain cooperative arrangements for the value of both parties. Further perspectives on structuring the work effort. Matching structure to strategy. Pick a basic organizational design that matches structure to strategy. Supplement design with appropriate coordinating mechanisms, and institute collaborative networking and communication arrangements. I thank you for listening.